Good morning, West Coast. Good afternoon, East Coast, and my friends from Latin America. Good evening, Europe, and good night, India and Asia. We are excited to welcome you to our second virtual summit on AGTech, hosted by the Center for Private Equity and Venture Capital at the Tech School of Business, and also the Tech Food and Agriculture Club. We are thrilled to have more than 65 speakers and 735 attendees throughout these 3 days of conference with more than 13 hours of presentation. Everything coordinated from the beautiful and small town of Hanover in New Hampshire. I'm Alberto Aristia. I'm a Chilean second-year MBA student at TAC with strong interest in food and agriculture. I spent my MBA summer working at FBN, one AgTech startup. I also worked doing corporate strategy for a grocery retailer in Latin America. And I have a family background of 4 generations dedicated to poultry, dairy, and fruit production in Chile.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kristen Ng. I'm a first-year student at Tuck and an incoming co-chair for the Tuck Food and Agriculture Club. I'm very passionate about AgTech, particularly about alternative proteins and the next generation food industry. I'm really looking forward to hearing from our companies over the next few days, and so happy that we have this opportunity to be together virtually.
So this year, we have separated our summit according to different topics. On Tuesday, today we will be covering general trends in AgTech investing, alternative protein, and the convergence of FinTech and AgTech.
On Wednesday, we'll be covering innovations in the consumer product goods space, traceability and food safety, robotics, analytics, and digital commerce.
Finally, on Thursday, we will be covering AgTech in developing countries with presentation on India, Latin America, and Asia Pacific. We are going to spend the next few minutes discussing AgTech broadly.
Okay, apologies. I think that we finally have our technical issues under control now, so apologies for that. So what is AgTech? This large block of text is the definition of AgTech, according to everyone's favorite point of reference, Wikipedia. I won't bore you with a verbal rendition of this, but in a broad sense, AgTech is the intersection of farming and technology.
So, who cares about AgTech? Why is it important? AgTech touches a variety of spaces beyond just food and agriculture, including business, politics, industry, healthcare, technology, and more.
For this conference, our purpose was to establish a conversation across the 3 main levels of AgTech: investors, startups, and industry leaders. All 3 of these groups are necessary to disrupt the food value chain. On the investor side, we have representation from venture capital firms, as well as venture arms of established companies. In the startup space, we will hear from over 3 dozen startups with operations in over 20 countries. We will also hear from some industry leaders and corporate representatives who are working to change the AgTech industry, which segues into our next slide.
Why do we need AgTech? The system of farming needs to be modernized and brought forward from the industrial age to the digital age. The problem we face regarding agriculture can be broadly categorized into 2 buckets: quantity and quality. On the quantity side, we won't have enough food to feed ourselves, and we don't have enough food relative to the inputs that we need to produce food. Population is projected to reach 9.8 billion by 2050, and studies project that we will need to grow twice as much food as we do today to avoid food security issues and mass social disruption. Climate change is making it more difficult to find how to feed the world by conventional measures. So how does AGTech address these problems? AGTech is looking for ways to do more with less, to find ways to increase yield without burdening overtaxed resources. Over the next few days, we are excited to have the opportunity to hear from companies that are creating artificial intelligence powered agribots, apps to follow farmers to monitor their crops, and marketplace to allow how to sell surplus waste.
On the quality side, the food that we have is problematic. Too many foodborne illnesses, too large a contribution to climate change, and too much waste produced. 1 in 10 people fall ill every year from eating contaminated food, and 420,000 people die each year as a result, making traceability an important topic. Consumers increasingly want to know how their food is produced, where it came from, and the quality of ingredients. Over the next few days, you'll hear from companies building supply chain platforms on blockchain and using DNA to determine whether food is contaminated. The global food system is also responsible for a significant amount of all greenhouse gas emissions, more than transport, heating, lighting, and air conditioning combined. Almost 30% of the world's ice-free land is used to raise livestock. Relative to plant-based agriculture, meat production has a much higher impact with regards to water use, land required, and waste generated. Increased consumption of plant-based foods will reduce the impact on the environment. Over the next few days, you'll hear from companies producing lab-grown meat, plant-based meat alternatives, and alternatives to dairy products. On the waste front, over 1 billion tons of food is wasted every year, a third of the total produced. The amount of food lost or wasted is estimated at 2.6 trillion US dollars annually, and it's critical to become more efficient in our food production system. Now we'll talk about some trends in the space.
In many ways, the trends that we are seeing in AGTech are mirrors of what we are seeing on the society overall. People are increasingly demanding more transparency, knowing how their food is made and where it came from. The rise of transparency has led to an increased emphasis on analytics and traceability. People also increasingly value personalization, and we're seeing the end of the one-size-fits-all approach. At the same time, people are also looking for efficiency and cost savings.
On the upstream side, or the areas preceding the retailer, some trends we're seeing include farming as a service, which allows subscription and pay-per-use farming solutions, digital marketplaces, which allow farmers to buy inputs directly or rent and lease equipment, AI-based farming, digital agronomy, and the Internet of Things, where artificial intelligence and data are helping farmers to analyze real-time soil conditions, identify plant diseases, and harvest crops, and fintech and agtech, where we're seeing an intersection as some companies are bringing new financial solutions to agriculture.
On the downstream side, in the right side of the slide, we are seeing alternative and plant-based food products, vertical, hydroponic, and underground farming, which will help to alleviate pressures on finite resources such as land, digital supply chain and traceability, as companies increasingly look for solutions that allow us to know where and how our food is made, and finally, farm to fork, or what I like to call consumer-oriented food production, as consumers increasingly demand customized food.
As the virtual summit on AgTech is a Tuck School of Business event, we of course need to talk about some of the finances of this industry. In 2019, food and AgTech startups raised $20 billion, led by meat alternatives and indoor agriculture, a 250% increase over 5 years. Though venture capital investment across all industries declined in 2019 by about 16% year over year, food agritech saw a decline of only 4.8% year over year.
Funding to startups operating upstream raised 100 million more in 2019, driven by meat and dairy alternatives and vertical farming. Lisa Brewer-Taylor of AgFounder News, who will be speaking here on Thursday on a LATAM panel, notes that these two categories have traditionally accounted for a small portion of the overall ecosystem, as investors traditionally favored food delivery and biotech.
As we start wrapping up our introduction, we'd like to note that this conference is coming at a timely moment in human history as we grapple with the outbreak of COVID-19. Some experts believe that the novel coronavirus is a zoonotic disease, or a disease that has been transmitted from animals to humans. It's speculated to have first been seen in humans after making the jump from animals that were being harvested in China's wet markets, similar to SARS before that. It is undeniable that the way humans eat around the world is a major risk factor for pandemics. In the US, where Alberto and I currently are, 99% of America's meat comes from large industrialized facilities known as factory farms. These facilities supply more than 90% of meat globally. In these facilities, thousands of animals are overcrowded. These animals are stressed, crippling their immune systems, and there's a lack of fresh air and sunlight, creating a perfect storm for the emergence and spread of disease. Because farmed animals are bred for specific traits, these animals are almost genetically identical, and viruses can easily spread, growing even more virulent.
According to the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, livestock health is the weakest link in our global health chain. And preserving access to safe food and nutrition is an essential part of health response. We need to collaborate with every actor in the supply chain, build public-private partnerships, and promote innovation. We believe that AGTech will be integral to addressing these issues and to helping us cope with and prevent future outbreaks. Some last words as we wrap up our introductory remarks. The virtual summit on AgTech is hosted by the Tax Center for Private Equity and Venture Capital in collaboration with the Food and Agriculture Club. The conference aims to expand access to trends and issues in agriculture and technology. The conference, now in its second year, and I can see Matt and Rachel connected, thank you very much, and it's designed to be accessible. It's available anywhere where you have internet, and we have kept the registration fee, which goes to charity, at a low cost. We would like to thank our sponsors to make this possible. Bayer Crop Science, which through its data science and digital farming, strive to empower farmers to make better decisions, the right product in the right place, at the right time, and in the right amount. And also Rice Exchange, which we will be listening on Thursday, which is a digital rice trading platform with an integrated supply chain solution.
We would also like to thank our Dartmouth and Tuck partners, including the Center for Private Equity and Venture Capital, the Center for Entrepreneurship, the Center for Business, Government, and Society, the Center for Digital Strategies, and the Magnuson Center for Entrepreneurship. This year, as with last year, our nonprofit partners are the National Young Farmers Coalition, which represents, mobilizes, and engages young farmers to ensure their success, and Feeding America, a hunger relief organization with a nationwide network of food banks feeding the hungry. We would also like to thank Jim Foy, the Executive Director of the Center for Private Equity and Venture Capital, Jessica Williams, the Program Manager at the Center for Private Equity and Venture Capital, and our student volunteers, without whom none of this would be possible.
Finally, we would like to thank you, the viewers. We're about to reach 750 registered attendees, and we encourage a highly participative discussion in the chat box where I've been reading some comments, and also through Ask a Question tab that you can see on the bottom right of the screen. And also, if you are active on social media, we also encourage you to follow our Twitter and Instagram at Virtual Summit AT and use hashtags Tag AGTech Summit and Tag AGTech. Now, let's start this and hear from our first keynote speaker, Tom Chi. Thank you very much. Christine,
Yes, sorry.
you can press end broadcasting.
Sorry. Thank you all. Sorry, we're trying to figure out the technology still.